Hailing frequencies open, and welcome to Star Trek Discoverage, the live podcast that boldly goes into excruciating detail about this week's episode of Star Trek Lower Decks. I'm your host, Aaron Coker, a.k.a. Caliban, and the sarcastic Vulcan salute should always be followed by, live long and prosper, I guess. Sitting in tonight in place of my usual co-host, Ella Pearson, is my co-host on the Just Enough Trope podcast. She's also the host of the Sailor Noob podcast, and she's a frequent Enterprising Individuals and Discoverage guest. It's Mika and Hana. Mika, welcome back to Discoverage.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
It's great to have you here. How have you been? We haven't talked in a while.
Yeah. Well, the world is crazy now.
4 or 5 whole days since we talked last.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm good. It's good to talk about Trek again. It's been a couple months, so yeah. How are you doing, Cal?
You know what months are made up of?
Days.
And days make up weeks.
Weeks, yes.
They make up weeks. A certain number of weeks.
I think I know where this is going.
Maybe talk about later, yeah. Well, thanks for coming on the show. Before we get started, I thought we could talk a little Star Trek news and a little Lower Decks stuff. Yeah. CBS All Access got a big update recently, adding thousands of hours of content from Viacom cable channels and sources. And this is all ahead of their planned relaunch of the platform early next year. And of course, yeah, they're going to just kind of, it's going to be, CBS All Access 2.0.
Okay, just like new, it'll just have like a new look and run smoother sort of thing?
Yeah, and it's them, because they just had this huge merger, and so that means they've got their hands on a lot of extra content and things.
Well, that makes sense, I guess. So,
they're going to try to be a super streamer, which is not, that's not, who decided on that name?
Yeah.
When I get one of those big sodas at the movie theater, I'm also a super streamer, but anyway... It's all leading to, of course, what we're going through right now, like hurricane season. It's 23 weeks of Trek.
Yes.
Now, this is because of COVID, right? You would not normally do this. Like, yes, you're trying to bring the franchise of Trek back. You're trying to familiarize viewers, young and old and new, but you wouldn't just jam 2 series like directly next to each other, right? You'd spread it out a little bit, right? Even though you want to have Trek on all the time.
That's what I'm guessing. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. And even, yeah, I mean, it's like, get CBS All Access, here you go. Here are 23 episodes of Trek in a row.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I'm just sitting there thinking about it. Like, even if, so you could, if you wanted to, I'm not saying that, I'm sure there are people who do this. You could, get CBS All Access, watch Trek for 23 weeks, and then let it lapse.
Yeah. Yeah. But they've got you.
Saying.
They've got you, though, for those 4 or 5 months or whatever it is, I guess.
That's true. Yes, absolutely.
Maybe this is and has been the strategy all along.
Maybe.
Well, I'll tell you who it's not a strategy for, and that's international fans. It's only 23 weeks for U.S. fans because Lower Decks is not premiering internationally currently. It's leaving a lot of international fans frustrated about when they can expect to see the new show. And Mike McMahon, the showrunner, head writer of the show himself, Lower Decks, tried to provide an explanation on a podcast interview recently, and he said, quote, "A lot of what we're doing for Lower Decks unexpectedly got shifted 2 months earlier because they were juggling around schedules and stuff. A lot of the different groups in entertainment, when you shuffle that stuff around, they can't move as fast as we can." And he also said, quote, We were not expecting to premiere as soon as August, but because of the circumstances being what they are, it was important to us to get this out in the world. We had the ability to do it safely. So, yes, I think this was actually supposed to premiere after the 3rd season of Discovery, which presumably would have premiered, months ago at this point.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
It's that last oboe player who he didn't have a good mic. They kept telling him to go to Best Buy to record that score.
He was the holdout. Yeah. Well, that kind of, I didn't realize that there was going to be, so they don't even know when it's going to premiere for international fans, is what I'm getting from what you said.
That's right.
That's, wow. At least have a date for people. I mean, that would be nice.
Yeah, it's not great, and it's weird because I don't think that there's anything. I think it's just production concerns. Like maybe the people who are coordinating the productions are busier. Because I can't imagine there's any plot points that you have to line up. Like there's nothing in Lower Decks that's going to affect Disco Season 3, right? This isn't like a Winter Soldier, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. type thing.
Right.
But just in terms of probably the marketing machine and just kind of keeping everything focused on one show or the other. And so the solution, 23 weeks of Trek, of which we're in week 1. But what about 23 years of Trek? Let's talk about upcoming series. The production of Picard Season 2 went on hold in June because of COVID, but CBS Chief Digital Officer, is he like the doctor? Like, is he real? Or anyway, his name is Mark Debevoise, and in an interview recently, he said that Picard Season 2 will be ready sometime in 2021. There's no word on Strange New Worlds, the Pike series, and where that's at. We're probably looking at 2022 or later for that one. Lower Decks is already in production on its second season. The two... How do I say this? The second of 2 seasons that have been ordered. No word on more, but we'll see how it does. Yeah, but it has 2. And nothing has been announced as far as a premiere, but I think 2021 wouldn't be out of the question for that. It was announced at Comic-Con at Home that the new Nickelodeon series would be called Star Trek Prodigy, the animated series, and is slated for a 2021 debut, although it might take a year or more after it's aired in its entirety before it comes to CBS All Access due to licensing agreements. So,
what?
I don't know if we're covering that one.
Uh-oh.
I don't have Nickelodeon.
Yeah, what gives?
Well, I'm a cheapskate, but what gives with them?
No.
I don't know.
Well, you think they would have worked it out, like, before they made the deal? Like, this is, part of it, like, after X amount of months or whatever. I mean, I guess maybe that is what it is, but it won't be for, like, a year, which seems like a long time.
Yeah, why do we even have a chief digital officer? What's he doing? I don't know. I can see
he's synergizing all morning.
Yeah, he's energizing all morning.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Star Trek and its various animated forms, but I don't know. I can see it just being a coup to get. It's not really a coup though, because they kind of own it now, don't they? But did they know they were going to own it when they were making the deal? I don't know how any of it works, but I know that like getting Star Trek people in front of little kids who are coming off of SpongeBob and then going into Star Trek is a big deal. And so maybe it was worth it to them to lose a year of like streaming rights or exclusivity. But who knows?
Yeah. I think you and I were talking off air. It sounds like you're actually pretty excited about the Nickelodeon
I've
series.
been talking on air about the show.
Yes.
And with some of the advisors to the show who have been guests on my show. And so that's all I'll say. If you want to hear more, listen to Enterprising Individuals.
Yes.
Can't promise there's any secret information, but a lot of enthusiasm about it, though.
Well, good. Yeah, I think it sounds promising, so...
And it looks like Star Trek Discovery Season 3 will premiere October 15th. Let's see, that's the 11th week of Star Trek. We need, like, nativity calendars with Gach in them or something like that.
Yeah, no. Ooh. Would that last well?
Worms just come out.
How long does Gach keep?
Don't let him get away. Yeah, how long does it keep?
You open it up and it's like dead Gach. That's the worst. Nobody wants that.
Maybe it's a Gach farm. Like, what is the substrate that Gach live in? Like,
good question.
They're not earthworms, right?
No,
but you could have like you could have like an ant farm. Do anteaters have? Are there nativity calendars just ant farms with little doors that open into the? This isn't Star Trek.
Do you think they would wait the next day to open the next door?
It's so tough. It's so tough to wait.
Yeah, I need some more morsels in my mouth right now.
Oh, boy. Sand Dieter will forgive me. I I'm fired. Well, we've just seen the premiere episode of the new animated Star Trek series, Lower Decks. It's an episode called Second Contact, and we're here to talk all about it. But first, as always, a warning. We're setting a course for the spoiler zone. Listeners, so be warned. We're glad you decided to join us, but if you haven't seen the episode, spoilers are incoming. The official synopsis for Second Contact is Ensign Tendi has her first day of work on Starfleet's USS Cerritos, where she meets fellow support crew members Ensigns Mariner, Boimler, and Rutherford. Meanwhile, Boimler is tasked with a secret special assignment, and Rutherford attempts to keep his dating life intact while a sci-fi disaster strikes the ship. The episode was written by Mike McMahon. Mike McMahon previously wrote the short Trek episode The Escape Artist. He's the head writer and executive producer of Lower Decks. McMahon is the creator of the TNG_S8, or that's TNG Season 8 Twitter account, where he outlined a hypothetical 8th season for the show. He adapted that Twitter account into the book Warped, a reference guide to that fictional 8th season. McMahon got his start in writing animation on the FXX series Axe Cop and was a writer and executive producer on Rick and Morty. He's also an EP and writer for the Hulu animated series Solar Opposites. The episode was directed by Barry J. Kelly. Kelly has served as an animator on series like The Venture Brothers and Son of Zorn, and has directed episodes of Venture Brothers and Star Wars Galaxy of Adventures. The stardate for this episode is 57436.2, and there are a few interesting aspects to this episode. The first one specifically is that stardate that puts this episode in the calendar year 2380, which would essentially be the year after Nemesis. So this is really the first... Yeah, this is the first, sort of live-action stuff that we've seen set immediately after the TNG films. This is the first Trek series to have its premiere in August since Voyager's second season premiere, the 37s. This also marks the first time two Star Trek series have premiered in the same calendar year, Picard, of course, being the other series. This is, of course, the second Star Trek animated series and marks the return of Trek cartoons after a 46-year absence from TV with the cancellation of Star Trek the Animated Series in 1974. This is the first animated series to be produced by CBS Animation Productions, the new animation arm of CBS. And John Van Citters, VP of Merchandising, or whatever the hell his title is, chose the abbreviation LDS for the series as a reference to Kirk's line in Star Trek IV. You know, he took a little too much LDS in the 60s.
What? Is that what that's referring to?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that or the Latter-day Saints. So I'm going to go with LDS, yeah. And speaking of franchise continuity, General Order 5 is brought up in this episode, and I believe for the first time in a live-action series, General Order 5 reads, in part, I won't read the whole thing, in cases of extreme emergency, Federation special representatives are empowered to assume emergency powers to deal with a condition or circumstance that is deemed hazardous to the welfare of Federation citizenry. The Order has never appeared on screen, but instead first appeared in a FASA, F-A-S-A, Star Trek RPG sourcebook, along with a full list of General Orders, and they've just generally been adopted as canon-ish. You know, everything is canon until something more important comes along.
Right. That's impressive. Like, it sounds like, and you just read part of that order? Like, so how many...
It's as long as you're on.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I'm not that terribly surprised, but seriously, wow.
There's a lot of stuff. Well, there's beta canon, and then there's gamma canon, or like it just goes down and down until you get to omega canon. But a lot of that 70s role-playing stuff stuck for a long time because this show was only like 2 3/4 seasons long, right? It goes off the air, but you've got a bunch of hungry nerds who want to play video games and read books, and so... You know, that's the job of an RPG writer, is just to, like, create worlds and worlds and worlds so other people can use that stuff, to make their own worlds. And so I remember taking a lot from the FASA books. Also, I think Last Unicorn sort of inherited the mantle after that, and those poor guys, they wrote so much stuff that was great, but, of course, a lot of it's been sort of overwritten now.
So wait, Last Unicorn, is that, like, a role-playing company? Like, is that have any connection to the film at all?
I know what you're doing. I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know where we stand with Jeff Bridges on this one.
Where do we stand with unicorns turning into people?
Yeah. Alan Arkin is your game master. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, what did you think about Second Contact?
Well, I'm not... I thought it was, I'm going to be as honest as I can be, I thought it was okay.
Uh-huh.
Um, I would love to give it a glowing review. Um, but I did not love it.
Okay.
Um, I I thought that I mean, it's hard, right? When
Apparently it is.
you're starting out at any new series, like your role is to, I mean, maybe it's not as hard because that you're setting it in Trek, so that sort of
I
overall
I think that's
theme
the
is
hardest
there.
part.
Yeah, oh, like being
People
within that.
people start new cartoons every day, and they, rise or fall based on their merit. But I think having to fit yourself into the Star Trek universe, not
Mm,
violate, any of the, 55 plus years of FASA source books or whatever, or just the tone of a Star Trek show, and yet your mandate is to not be your typical Star Trek show. I think that's strangling this show just in the
no,
one
I think you're
episode that I've
probably.
seen. I
I
do
think you're
have a
probably.
I have a question because I've never watched it. Is this what the Orville's like? Is this the Orville?
I don't have an answer for you because
Okay.
I've also never watched.
Shoot. Well, I'm going to get a guess that's in the Orville because this is kind of what I imagine the Orville to be like. It's vaguely Star Trek-ish. It is
Hmm.
nominally a comedy, but I
Right.
don't find Seth MacFarlane very funny, and so it would just be me just sort of smizing at the screen, right? But the
Yeah.
Orville's an hour long.
Right. Right. I mean, I did find so I agree with you. I didn't feel like all of the jokes landed. I did laugh at parts. I guess the funniest part to me, I'm kind of jumping all over here, but is
Oh, my notes are a mess.
oh, okay. Well, here we go. Was when they're on the planet and Ensign Mariner is talking to Ensign is it Boimler or Baumler? I can't even remember how you pronounce his name. Um,
Beamler.
you okay?
Or is it Beam like Hans Beam? No, I think it's like Boimler.
Boimler? Okay. And
Beaumont.
she right. She's telling him about how many different ships she's been on and like different experiences she's had and all the different things she's seen. And I think she was talking about how she was trapped for weeks in a sentient cave,
Yeah.
which and like I like that and the way she described that was pretty funny. And the way she
A dark
described a
place that
couple.
knows things. Yeah.
Yes,
But my
yes.
question is, that's I guess it's a fun description, but how's that a joke? Like that
Mm,
isn't.
I
Do you know what I
laughed,
mean?
but yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know
it's
what
sort of
you mean.
silly and it has the cadence of a joke, Parks and
Right.
Rec bit, right? But
Yeah.
I don't get how that's like a joke. And of course, 50 plus years, a bunch of guys with no writing experience are going to tell you how to make Star Trek. Now they're going to tell you how to make comedy shows too.
I
And
know.
I just want to be honest I guess that's kind of what I'm doing. But I just felt a lot of it was, hey, this is like energetic and kind of goofy. And so that's jokes, right? And
Yeah,
yeah,
I
but
agree
like
with you.
Rick and Morty, the show, I think this probably shares the most DNA with, not just
Yeah.
because of the staff, but through intention, I think.
Hmm.
Rick and Morty has jokes, though. Like,
Yes.
sure, a crazy amount of stuff happens, and Rick and Morty is weird because its premise is completely opposite to what I assume the premise of the show is, and I want to talk about that too because I don't know what the premise of the show is. Is that Rick and Morty's like nothing really matters, and so look at this amazing stuff, which will all be destroyed when Rick sets off a nuke bomb, and they just go to another universe, and it's just like this, the amazing things in creation, and also none of that crap matters.
Right.
I don't know what the premise of this show is. Like I was watching it and thinking, except for the kind of like lame jokes, this would just be like a good maybe TNG action show. They certainly
Hmm.
seem to want to do the type of action you would see on Discovery or on more actiony episodes of TNG. And as I was watching it, I was thinking, but this wasn't what it was supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be like a kind of goofy Rosencrantz and Guildenstern look at like the Star Trek universe. There's a couple
Right.
parts in the show that I think get close to that. Like I I like that at the end when they've got it figured out, the slime cures everybody, and then all the principals, like this would be like the Riker, the Troy, the Picard, they're all like, well, it looks like it's another great science discovery for you, and they're like, more paperwork, and I could kind of see like the credits like freezing over them as we pull back and look at our characters, you know, our Lower Decks characters who are bedraggled, and they're like, they get all the credit, and they're pulling all the roses, and if that's the premise, I'm down with it. And there's a little bit, after that when he goes and the captain is making her log, and she's, just aggrandizing like the senior staff and not mentioning him, where it seems like he's sort of like rolling his eyes. And so if the premise is like him going from like, a bootlicking zero to just a wacky hero, I can see that, but
I think maybe that's where they're headed.
Yeah, but I think you can do that more in microcosm in your pilot episode to give us an idea of kind of what it's going to be like as we go on. Mm-hmm. There was the B story in this. I got nothing from that.
Oh, you mean
Rutherford going on his date?
Rutherford going on the date.
Oh, go ahead.
I thought it was really cute, up and sweet, up until the point where because they're just kind of like lost in each other and having this experience with each other while this chaos is going around.
Is that what's going on?
I thought that's what was going on.
I mean, I think that's what that storyline is. Like, I think they've got a premise and a setup that we understand what it is, and so that's what they should be doing. But they weren't really doing it. I didn't. What's my point? My point is, I didn't get why, as soon as like a zombie outbreak happened, they continued the date. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, they're all wacky characters, but why would they do that? And if you did it in a different way, like if you did it where they're like, oh my God, zombies, and so they've got phasers and they're fighting, and a zombie's grabbing on, trying to bite his arm, and he's pushing it off. And while this is happening, like, they start talking, and then they realize, oh, we're really hitting it off. Like, why did they just not? I don't know. And then you had the one guy run in, and he goes, this is happening all over the ship. And then he runs away. It's like, okay, thanks, mustache exposition guy.
Yeah, we didn't really need that.
I didn't know what that was for. It just seemed really clumsy.
I think because they were talking about, like, where is your quarters, and, like, maybe, like, they were going to sneak off and have some alone time together or something.
Really?
Maybe.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know.
I've totally misread that, if that's what it was. I still don't think it's very good, but...
Okay. I don't know. I thought maybe that's what they were trying to insinuate. But then, like, when they found out it was all over the ship, they were like, well, maybe. But they don't, like, that doesn't make them get up and leave or help or anything. So I don't know. It is kind of unclear. I didn't really, like, he was, like, so incredibly enthused by, I can't even remember what it was. They go through this one door, one of the sensor readings doesn't go off, or doesn't, like.
Yeah.
Was it like their life signs or something like that?
It's like they're communicators.
Yeah, and he's like, it's supposed to do it. Why didn't it do it? And she, like, doesn't care. And I was like, okay, whatever. But
but I didn't either. I wasn't really invested in
I wasn't
it
really
going
either.
well. Do you know what I mean? And then it sort of falls apart over that, like this little
Which I was like,
thing.
I thought that was dumb.
And I don't mean... No, I mean, the dumber the reason, the better. But I'm just saying, like, the way that it was... All the moments, many of the moments in this show were not given any sort of weight to sell the drama or the comedy. There's a part where, near the end, where they realize, like, the slime is important, and the guy that's covered in slime is like, we got to protect this guy and his slime. Or they call him a slime, I know. And then there's this, like, breathless sequence where they run through the corridors and they're shooting... infected crew members, and of course none of the main cast gets infected or gets dragged down. If it was a zombie movie, they'd be taken out one by one, and then like just Shax gets I can't do Ensign B to sick bay, and they figure out the problem. But then we can't have the scene that we have after that. But I liked how when they did all that, they go in and the doors close, and Shax just drops him on his face like on the floor, which is a good. That's a good bit because it's that twist, it's that reversal of fortune that makes a joke. But they didn't. I don't know if the show knew that was a joke, because if you want to sell that joke, you make him really important. You do what you can in the scene where they're running around, but it's like maybe he's starting to really like his status or starting to feel like he's really important, and then you drop him on his head. Like that's you.
Right.
You set it up, to pay it off a little more.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if that this should the pace of the dialogue and the jokes are so relentless in this. They're not even stopping to look behind them to see if the jokes are landing at all.
Yeah, I wonder if they've really tested this with audiences at all. Like, I mean, I don't know how you would do that with a cartoon, but
Just show it to them.
Well, yeah, just I wonder if the writing is going to improve from, as it goes on. I did really the animated sequence that you were talking about. I did really enjoy that.
Yeah, but again, once again, it's like, wow, what a cool action show this is. This comedy show.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, good point.
They don't even.
I mean, I don't have a problem with it being actiony, but have the jokes actually.
Well, are they embarrassed of their jokes? Like, if you're proud of your jokes, you let them sit. You let them
breathe.
Put them out there, and they can't even let the opening credits joke land because there's the thing where it's da-da-da, and it's like all majestic, and then the ship comes out, and before we even really see the ship or establish in our minds, it's like, oh, this is like a TNG type opening, like rocks start hitting the ship, and it should be more like, da-da-da, oh, this is great. It's like, whoa. Oh, that rock hit that ship, and then the ship veers off course or something. I mean, all those elements are there, but they're much more subtle, and you kind of wonder, like, oh, okay, I guess we're supposed to show that this ship sucks, isn't it?
Right?
Does it suck? Isn't it all the lower deck people that are the screw ups or the higher ups? Do they suck too?
I don't know. We haven't the character who's I think the first officer, Commander Ransom. Yeah. He's kind of, at least in this episode, we see him being kind of negligent, right? Because he's the one who gets bitten, and one of the other officers is like, should you go get that checked out, sir? And he's like, nah, I'm fine. I don't know.
I know. I mean, Riker brings things back to the ship all the time.
That's true. We haven't seen them. I guess that's a possibility. We haven't seen them, be screw-ups yet, though.
Yeah, and
haven't seen that.
And this is a second contact. This is boring. Like, it was presumably the first contact people ran the scans. They would have found a virus fly or something. And the captain, I think, says at the end, like, well, that's why we're here. We're cleaning up. We're double checking the work here. So I mean, I was fine with that, but yeah, it's just that got out of hand real fast.
Yes. Do you feel like, I don't know, maybe this is just me, but do you think that I kind of feel like that the ship's name sounds like food?
Yeah, I mean, it's a city in California, right?
Okay, all right. Well,
it does.
There you go.
It does sound like food, though. And again, that's just so perfectly encapsulates the imperfect approach to comedy on this show, because you're like, you can't call it like SS Rust Bucket. Like, I get that.
Well,
but,
right. It can't be super on the nose.
Yeah, Surak's butt or something. You can't. But you could do something. And they just picked like you said, it sounds like food. Like they picked a thing that's like, is that funny? I'm not sure if that is.
Is that what they're going
funny.
for? Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, and we've all sat around tables and the back of classrooms and made these Star Trek jokes for years. Like, it's unlikely you're going to come up with a lot of original material that other people haven't thought of. Oh, the Klingons crimp their hair. Got it. But if you're going to, it better be the best version. It should be road tested and should really land. And the all nude like weight room or something in the holodeck is like, yeah, I think we've all done that joke. So what's the best version? What's your version?
I don't know. That may be we all joke that there's tons of weird, horrible sex things.
Oh, there's drains
happening.
in the floor of the holodeck. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, on the holodeck. But to go for that, your first episode, and I was just embarrassed. I was like, is that funny, or is it I feel like I'm intruding on something?
What'd you think about, and this is, if you didn't think anything you didn't care, then you don't have to answer, because this is something I get hung up on, but I like generally how people in Star Trek act weird. Do you know what I mean? I think as the franchise continues, they act more and more "quote unquote" normal until O'Brien likes to play darts or whatever. But generally, they feel like future people. You know, they feel like people who are abhorrent of violence. You know, and who are really accepting that Dax is dating a guy whose brain is visible or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then we get Enterprise, which was designed to be sort of a two-fisted, you know, gunslinging adventure. And then now we've got this and we've got Picard, two shows that are set after the TNG movies and the sort of end of the Berman era. And everybody just acts like they live in 2020. And I don't know how to feel about it. That's kind of part A of my whatever I'm doing. And part B is everybody's really mean and cynical. And I don't know if that's just...
that's a good point.
I don't know if that's what straight character... I don't mean straight sexually. I mean like not the joke teller characters do on comedy shows to the wacky comedy people, or if they're trying to insinuate that there is some sort of malaise in the Federation, because we know, and this isn't a spoiler, we know that the Federation ain't necessarily around in Discovery's future, you know, the future that they've gone to. Are they seeding things in to show us like this kind of moral decline where everybody's an asshole in the Federation by the time we hit the 25th century? Or is it the thing I said before?
Wow. That's a lot to unpack. I'm not, I gotta say, at least for part A, I'm not really a fan of them talking how, you know, modern 20 people talk.
20
people?
Know,
20
That's
people.
like a choir. Like, I see what you mean.
Yeah, like how normal people talk in our society today.
What's up, dude?
Like, right.
Beam me up.
I don't need that in my Star Trek. I'd like my Star Trek to be a little... I mean, I don't want it to be, like, stuffy or anything like that, but I'd like it to be a little heightened, a little, you know, elevated. And then also, I guess, along those lines, like, I mean, obviously, there are corrupt people in the Federation, and there have been for a long time, and a lot of them seem to be admirals. But, you know... why do we have to be, like you said, like, why are people, like, mean or, like, rude or out for themselves? And, you know, so I think maybe with Picard, they were trying to show that something had happened and gotten rotten within the Federation. It almost seemed like with Picard, because it's so focused on Jean-Luc, right? It almost seemed as if they were saying, like, he was one of the last good things to be in the Federation.
Everybody.
And when he left, it all went downhill.
Everybody is a total jerk, but, like, there's Picard, and he's nice. Right.
And I don't think that should be the case either. But it just kind of seemed like that's what they were trying to say.
Is Mariner's first name Beckett?
Oh, boy. It might be.
Is this a pseudonym? Because she doesn't have the same name as the captain, as her mother.
Yeah.
But is it a girl's name Beckett? It's space in the future. I guess it's okay. I guess it's okay to be called whatever you want. But I just thought that was like Beckett Mariner.
Whatever you want. Yeah.
Did you get switched with somebody else? Countdown to what was that? Well, I was going to say countdown to her being a chosen one. What's the over under?
Oh, I think it's probably pretty high.
I just get a real Burnham-y vibe out of her. It doesn't help that like her
Harry
mom
Potter.
and dad are in Starfleet, like Berman or Burnham.
Well, right.
But not Berman, not Rick Berman. Oh my God, no.
Burnham.
Michael Berman.
Yeah.
I just invented Michael Berman. Oh boy. Should have let that slip by. Do you feel like you know the characters?
No, I do not.
Did you know that the recap or the synopsis of this episode starts with Ensign Tendi? Do you know anything about Ensign Tendi?
I know next to nothing about Ensign Tendi, except it's her first day.
Yep.
That's all I know, and she's full of enthusiasm and excitement.
I've never seen a character like that before. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know.
I think they could have made... I know it's a cartoon, but we also know it's not for geared towards kids, right? So I think
No,
you could
but
have made
it's
your
a cartoon,
characters
but
more
these are still
complex.
Hollywood writers, and the guy who's
Yeah.
writing it has been thinking about, this is his dream job. He's been thinking about doing this for 30 years. So I think it's a great premise, but it's not going to write itself. I don't think you can just say, oh, it's
Yeah.
Star Trek. People are going to laugh. People are going to love it. Some will, sure, but Hot Banana, you got to do better than Hot Banana.
Yeah,
Or sorry,
I didn't
Banana
feel
Hot. I guess that's the joke. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess that is the joke. But if you have to think about it, how good of a joke is it? I it didn't really. If I was just let's just imagine, if you will, I am in a world and in this world and I have never seen an episode of Trek in my life ever, and you showed me this, it would not grab me. It would not entice me, and that's what, it's hard to do that, I think, on a first episode with any show, no matter what, if you're doing live action or cartoons or what have you, but
Yeah.
I think you really need to do that. And like,
I hate Rick and Morty, or no, I don't hate Rick and Morty. I hate praising Rick and Morty because it gets plenty of praise already, but its first episode is a great episode. Mm-hmm. And it draws you in. It tells you what the show's going to be.
Right.
It pushes things past the point where you think like, okay, I get it. Because remember, this Lower Decks has a great premise. Rick and Morty has a terrible premise. It's just like it's Doc and Marty from Back to the Future, basically.
Right.
Only Doc has no moral compass. But then they take that and they push it farther than you would even think for it to go. And they've got all these little bits that happen while they're sort of just doing the basic plot of getting the seeds all the way up there, Morty. And so, like, that's a great example of, like, a great cartoon pilot, whereas this, I just feel like this is basically exactly what you would think it would be.
Well, I don't really know where, I don't need to know exactly where we're going. Like, I don't need you to give me a roadmap like episode 1, but, like, just any sort of inkling of what is in store for me.
But that's exactly what a pilot's for.
Well, I suppose.
Remember the pilot of MASH?
Yeah, that was a great episode.
But it tells you like, every MASH episode will be like that forever.
Right.
Except for the one with the chicken and the baby. I thought this was a comedy show. So let's talk about things that we like. Let's be fair. It's a gorgeous show.
Yeah. It's gorgeous. The colors are really great on it. They're very vibrant. I like the animation style.
Especially in this like time of new Star Trek and Star Trek films where everything is, the lens flare, the dark and the contrast of the light and dark on the bridge and stuff. I really just liked. And this is this is something else. I think the show has to get out from under TNG's shadow. Using the TNG font, like that's a real hand tip as far as I'm concerned. I mean, this is basically just this is McMahon's TNG season 8, basically, right?
Right.
And I hope that they can sort of expand beyond just that. But yeah, I mean, the animation is fantastic, and the details are great too. I didn't notice until my second watch through that Rutherford, the pupil on his cyber side is pixelated. It's not fully round.
What? I didn't notice that either. That's great.
That's the kind of really dumb thing that like an artist comes up with late at night and is like, oh, this is perfect. That was really cool.
I also, I really like the design of the uniforms.
They're neat.
The boots, at least some of the characters wear in their uniforms. Like I know Mariner and Rutherford at least wear them. So they have like, depending on what, it's like Mariner she's in training to be in command, right? So her uniform, her shirt is red, but like her shoes have like red accents, right? And the soles are red. And if you look at there's one point where they're like all sitting down and you can see the bottom of the sole of her shoe. And there's the Star Trek communicator insignia on there. And I think that's really neat. I like that a lot. And I think, I like the character designs overall too.
Yeah. They are pretty cool. I guess I didn't have to say that. I think it's funny that it's funny that like, okay, so we've all got iPads now. The iPad supposedly came from the pad on Star Trek, but they were smaller. Right. So now all the characters have like full size, like 10-inch iPads. And
I didn't notice that.
That's great for watching a movie, but if you just need a little pad for some information or a notepad, the point was like, hey, you can put this in your pocket. Now they're carrying around these tablets. So it's like this is an example of Trek or the modern world or the real world ruining Trek technology by like actually dragging it backwards. Saying. No, good things, only good things. I thought the length was good. It's only 26 minutes. The length was good. That's good. Why do CBS All Access shows have commercial breaks?
That's a good question. What, you're not breaking for commercial at all. So
well, I think you are if you don't have the premium, but it's like you're just gonna.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe that's why. I liked that Boimler, whatever. Like how he, the captain gives him an assignment to basically spy on his friend Mariner and
her daughter.
Her daughter, which you don't know is
totally
her daughter.
Ethical. Yes.
Yeah, and he accepts it because he's so like gaga for command. And then the episode happens. He follows her because she's doing something suspicious, and apparently she's just selling, maybe not even selling, just giving tools to farmers.
Right.
But he did ask her, like, how did you know about these people? How did you? And we never get that answer, but whatever.
Right. So he's satisfied, I guess, at that point, and then kind of just leaves out the details in the report to the captain. So he goes back, and now they're friends, I guess. Wouldn't that have been part of the premise, or like a good premise going forward? Like, just to go back to MASH, isn't the commander always trying to catch Hawkeye? Doing stuff. Like,
yeah, maybe something... it was too early for him to, he's
like, oh,
give up on it.
Yeah, I'm on her side. So now what's the captain for? Like, what's the point of the captain, right? Like, I just don't. I don't know. I said some choices were made that I question, but hey,
yeah,
this is only the first week of Trek, the first week of Star Trek.
But yeah, I was gonna say I liked that he decided he was good. His friendship with her was more important. But I see what you're saying, and I think that you have a good point that it could have been something that you could have gone back to. It could have been a whole season-long arc. Like what is he going to continue to spy on his friend? What is he going to tell the captain? Is he going to tell the captain everything? Is he going to be selective?
I mean, they could bring it back, but it just seems like,
yeah,
that's you do. I mean, you just got rid of it already. Does the planet Orion really not have sand? Why was she so fascinated with sand?
I don't know. I thought that was weird too.
Was that a Star Wars? Were you guys doing a Star Wars joke?
I don't know. If it was,
for not having sand. They sure wear a lot of bikinis.
Yeah.
On Orion.
Where are you wearing bikinis to? A gravel beach?
No, that's you're thinking about the alternative. Oh, in my world we have broken glass, so this is much better. It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Anything else to say about Second Contact?
I don't know how you feel about this, and maybe this is me being too critical of the show. We've seen 3 black characters, and they're all related. Yeah.
That's why it wasn't.
I mean, that could play out and be interesting, but I don't know. It kind of irritated.
I didn't really read any material, up to watching this first one, and so just while I was watching it, I was like, wow, the captain is very similar in design to Beckett Meridian or whatever her name is. Yeah, because and it's like, oh well, okay, of course they're related.
Well, I guess that makes sense now. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite character so far?
No.
No.
Maybe Talana, the cat doctor, the cat
doctor. Yeah, the cat doctor was pretty good.
I think that if they don't make him just a cliche, I think that Shax or whatever could be a really cool character.
I think he could be a standout
but I
too.
feel like he's just Bajoran Worf at this point.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like season 1 Worf.
Yeah. I think of the four main characters, I think I liked Rutherford the most. I really liked him up until that point where he got really fascinated with whatever it was on his date, and then I was just like, why? But we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, I still don't know how to make that more satisfying.
I don't either. I don't know.
Like,
how
I get
to...
the joke. The joke is he's more interested in that than the girl. I get it, but it's like you have to like set it up, and they're basically just they're just basically going on a space adventure very competently, and then also stopping every once in a while to talk about the monkeys or whatever. When are we going to stop with the 60s music references in these shows? Just a bunch of like old guys. So, somebody has to like 6ix9ine. You can keep doing the music references, but you have to talk about 6ix9ine and Machine Gun Kelly or something like that. None of this 50-year-old white man is writing a script. Yeah, the Beastie Boys. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, exactly. Somebody... I was going to say Taylor Swift, but screw that. Anyway, Grimes becomes an ambassador, I'm sure, and so maybe there's a whole subset of music that's based on the work of Grimes. The wife of that genius technologist, Elon Musk, that was mentioned in Discovery. How do you have a speech?
Who thinks that the pyramids were made by aliens?
How do you have a scene at the end where you have both Chadich and the word bitch in a character's monologue, and you don't do Chadich beach? You're my Chadich beach.
I don't know. Missed opportunity there, I think.
I guess so. Well, I think that we have done enough damage around this pop stand for now.
Yeah.
So, final thought. Once again, I'm hoping it gets good. Yeah,
I am too.
I've said that a lot recently.
I know. I feel I wanted to be excited about this, right? And I wanted to give it a good glowing review. I just thought it was okay, and I'm bummed out by that. So I hope that they can turn it around, and that by the end of the season, it's great, and I'm singing its praises.
Me too. I hope they need to pick a lane. Just be funny. Nothing matters.
Yeah.
Don't worry about not, acting non-Starfleet. Because even in this episode, the character who's like supposed to be the craven thief or whatever, who like literally stabs a guy when she's drunk, is like, no, I'm giving these guys shovels. They're farmers. Okay.
Yeah.
Either just get rid of all that and just make it Rick and Morty, or forget the jokes and just lean into like having it be like a whimsical kind of fun adventure. That's what I think. And that's it for this week. Thanks for joining us, listeners. If you like what you hear, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at EISTpod for updates and to get notified when new episodes of both Enterprising Individuals and Discoverage are released. And you can tweet to us on the show by using the hashtag Discoverage, or you can email us at eistpod@gmail.com. And when you're on the internet, why not head to your listening platform of choice and subscribe to our show feed and give us a rating and a review, because it really helps us out. And if you really want to help the show grow, stop by our Patreon page at patreon.com/EISTPOD. And as always, if you like the show, tell a friend. Discoverage will return next week, August 13th, for the second episode, the second week of 23 weeks of Star Trek. An episode called Envoys, which we don't know much about, so there's not much to say, except we'll see you next week. We're going to be going live once again at 7 p.m. Central, so join us then. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook at EISTpod to get notified when we're live and broadcasting. And in the meantime, check out our main show, Enterprising Individuals, at enterprisingindividuals.com. Every Wednesday on the show, I'm joined by a special guest to discuss in excruciating detail a selected episode from a Star Trek series. We also have news from the Trek sphere and interviews with special guests. Our latest episode just dropped, and on it, I'm joined by writer and musician Fred Love. Fred is a writer for the Star Trek Adventures role-playing game, and on the episode, he runs an introductory adventure for myself and two other guests, Alan and Josh, where we play the crew of a Galaxy-class starship that's trying to survive a deep space disaster. No dates on that one, unfortunately, but it gets a little wacky. You can check that out at enterprisingindividuals.com. Mika, thanks as always for coming by and talking about Lower Decks with us. Remind people where they can find you online.
Yeah, you can find me at justenough.trope.com and at mikanhana on Twitter.
And what is coming up in Just Enough Trope podcasts?
Well, last week we talked about New Mutants. It's possible we will be talking about New Mutants again because we still don't really know when that's coming out.
They're going to be old mutants.
Yeah, exactly.
By the time they show up.
But yeah, last week we talked about it was the Chris Claremont trade paperback, and it's wow, I'm failing here. It's the Asgardian
Asgardian Wars. Yeah.
Wars. Wow, I forgot the word wars, everybody. So
would that we all could.
Yeah, the Asgardian Wars, which was really good. No, it was good. And I highly recommend reading if you haven't already. So
yeah, thanks for that. Do you want to talk about your Sailor Moon show at all?
Yeah. So you and I co-host the Sailor Noob podcast, and where a super fan and a noob talk about all the original episodes of Sailor Moon. And we are having a really good time with that, and we talk about lots of different elements within the episodes as well, like food and clothes and Japanese culture. And we're almost at the end of the first season. It's kind of hard to believe. So, yeah, that's coming up real fast.
All right. Well, that's it for us. Thanks for listening, and we're signing off. This is Aaron for Mika saying live long and prosper.